bring out our next guest, House District Representative Jason Dunnington. Good evening, sir.
That's a nice opening. I like that.
It was a nice opening.
Can you guys do that for me every time?
It's because
I walk
we're in
outside?
Uptown and you're funky.
I love that. That's
right.
awesome.
I like your frosty beverage.
I mean, if you're not drinking local beer, what are you drinking?
That's
It's a true story.
Right?
An import
right?
story.
Local?
Do you remember the old "What's Up" Budweiser commercials?
I do.
When there was one that made fun of white people that there was a, watching the market recap, drinking an
Yes.
import. It was a solid commercial. All right, so Representative Dunnington, I've talked to lots of people here and otherwise, and lots of people have a burning question for you.
Okay.
What happened to your curly hair?
Yeah. So, long story, but short, about my curly hair. I started doing the News 9 show every Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And my mom started watching the show, and she started making fun of me. She said I didn't look professional enough. So I lost the curly hair and grew a beard, and the rest is history.
It made Mom proud.
Yeah.
Great. My mom
Right.
is
we
here
all
in
do
the audience,
things to make our moms happy.
I know.
right?
If Mom, you
So-
can provide me feedback tomorrow, as I'm sure you will. So, Jason, you did not have to run for office this year because what's up with that?
Yeah, so I was happy to not be on the ballot so I could help other people. But the fact is, a lot of the House Democrats that were in urban seats did not have opponents this time. And I think that it's not just indicative of House District 88. It was more House Democrats in urban areas in particular were more in line with what I think average everyday Oklahomans were in favor of wanting. And many of us didn't have a challenge, and it helped us get out and help other people. So.
Well, I would say on behalf of Scott and myself, we both live in your district, as you are well aware. And at some point, we would like the opportunity to vote for or against you.
Yeah.
That's yet to be determined.
Yeah.
But you got to have an opponent. And if it takes one of us running against you, by God, we may
I'm
just
pretty
do it.
sure that was Stephanie Hinton out there who was yelling because she wants
She's
to vote
also in your district, isn't
for
she?
it. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. I could be
She's
wrong.
going to run against you, too. We're
So.
just all going to challenge you so we
But
can
it's
vote.
good to see you, Doc.
Hey,
Nice to see you tonight.
likewise. You too. You too.
So this year we're expecting a whole lot of new people, right? A whole bunch of new legislators. Something like 70% of them are going to be new or less than 2 years, right?
Yeah, so about 70% of the legislature will have 2 years or less experience. And for anyone in the audience that has been in their job for longer than 2 years, you realize that it takes a while to kind of figure out what you're doing and what all the different pace is. And it's no different in the legislature. And it'll be really interesting to see with so many new people. It could be a really good thing, or it could be a really bad thing.
Well,
So,
I mean, that's what I was going to say. Is what's kind of your? I mean, I guess it would some part depend who fills some of these open seats, right? Like who wins some of these races. But what's your feeling about how having 70% of the legislature be so new? How do you predict that influences how you guys get stuff done or don't?
it's a big influence, and the biggest part is just policy. And I know that's like the really boring thing about tonight, because elections are really like fun and sexy, but policy is like the really boring part. But policy is the part that takes a while to figure out, and you can work on policy for 4, 5, 6 years before you actually get it corrected enough in order to get it passed through the legislature. And having so many new people, it's a big challenge for the legislature in order to get meaningful policy. Something we'll push this year that I think many people are interested in and is a big piece of policy, a big lift, is House District 88 is going to run expansion of health care for all Oklahoma citizens. So
Wow.
regardless of who wins governor tonight,
Okay.
we're pushing forward on health care for Oklahomans.
That's
Breaking news right there.
I'll say that's the first I've heard of that, and I usually hear things a few minutes ahead of time, or Scott does. Can you expand on what that would look like, what you're proposing?
Yeah, I mean, the proposal is essentially that we've left $9 for every $1 we spend on the table, and it's just a matter of us putting together a piece of policy that the legislature can agree on, and we would get a governor to sign off on, to follow 33 other states that have gone forward with this. So we've left about $1 billion of our taxes on the table, and it's time to bring those home and make sure that all Oklahomans have access to some health care.
So this is what year for you in the legislature, starting in?
This will be year number 5.
Year number 5, okay. Is this a piece of legislation, is this a kind of push that you would have tried in your first or second year?
Oh, absolutely not. It's too big of a piece of policy to move without having the relationships from being there in order to get done, because it's not something that you'll do with just Democratic support. It'll have to be something that builds bipartisan support. And, the fact is healthcare is bipartisan. We all need healthcare. We all deserve access to it, and it's time that we move forward on it.
Absolutely. No.
I have another question about all of these new legislators. So they're all coming in, and we might have, roughly 100 of them throughout the building. How do you assign offices to new legislators? Is there a land run day where they all stake their claim in an office and you fight off whoever lived there before?
Well, we start with, what beer they drink, and for all the domestic drinkers, we put them in the worst offices, and for the local drinkers, no. New people, it is a land run of sorts. If you've been a Democrat in the last 4 years, you've been put in coat closets on the 5th floor. But we've turned out to be pretty scrappy, so we're hoping to have better offices as we move forward here. So.
All right.
So you'll be there. This is your 5th term?
Yeah, 5th term.
Wow, is it really?
Although we age in dog years, so it's like 70.
Are you going to make all the newbies call you Pops?
So you are nearing the end of your eligibility to even be there, right?
Yeah, Oklahoma legislature has term limits. We're allowed 12 years, so I am entering year 5 and 6, so I'm entering the halfway point.
Oh, right, okay. I was not 5th term, but 5th year.
Yeah, 5th year.
So that makes you one of the eldest up there.
It does at this point, yeah. But I will tell you this. When I voted this morning with my kids at 40th Street Baptist Church, we were excited to see, especially this year, so many women on the ballot. And I am very, right? Give it up for the women on the ballot, right? I am very excited that I could be entering my 5th year with the most women that have ever been elected in the state of Oklahoma, and that's super exciting. So
that's very exciting in Oklahoma, because historically we've been the worst, right? 14% of legislature.
It is, and 52% of our population is female, and so it's about time that females had equal representation at the Capitol.
Hear, hear. So you and Senator Adam Pugh from across the aisle and across the building have started a new joint venture, a nonprofit organization called From Now On. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my friend Adam Pugh, Senator Pugh from Edmond, we started this idea that we needed to reset the table, if you will, on civil discourse. And I think, as everyone knows, we are in an extremely hyper-partisan time in U.S. politics. And because of that, we can't get things done. Stuff like we've already talked about tonight, like health care for all Oklahomans. That seems so simple, but things like that can't be done because of the partisanship. We wanted to reset the table on civil discourse. We wanted to be able to have good conversation about important issues and stop playing so much Team Red and Team Blue and start playing Team Oklahoma. So,
as part of this, you guys hosted a debate between Drew Edmondson and Kevin Stitt for governor. As I recall, this is the first ever gubernatorial debate that was planned, executed, hosted, everything by high school students in the nation. Is that right?
It was. It was the first ever student-led debate in the country. So we had 10 high school students from across the state that came in, prepped the debate, prepared it, did the questions. They were the moderators. They did a phenomenal job. Really gives me a lot of hope for young people in our state that are ready to step up and be leaders. I'll side note on that, of our 10 leaders, student leaders from across the state, 6 of them were young women, which was phenomenal to see. And yeah, just a great event, a great debate, really debated the issues. And I think both of the candidates were respectful of the process because they were afraid to be, I don't know, crappy around kids. They wanted to do better. And so that's what we're trying to do is reset the table and make sure that we're all acting in that way.
That's fair. I will say the Facebook feed was maybe not quite so civil because there is a third candidate in the race who was not invited. And I know we visited about this, but tell us a little bit about how that decision came to be made.
Yeah, I mean, it really just came down to polling. I'm not trying to say that the libertarian perspective is not important. I think that it is. It definitely adds to the conversation. But at the time of the debate, the libertarian candidate was polling under 3%, and it just seemed like that for the best type of debate on issues, on getting the most information out for candidates, that it was better to keep it with the top two parties.
Are there any races that you were watching in particular this evening?
Yeah.
And what
all
are
of
they?
them? Are we not all watching races? It's hard not to pay attention not only to the national races that are going on to see what's going to happen, but definitely the state. Paying close attention to House races. A couple in the city here are a teacher, Kelly Albright, running in the Midwest city area for the first time. Phenomenal candidate. Has a great chance of winning. Chelsea Brannon, another first-time candidate, works in a nonprofit field that is making a run here in Oklahoma City. That's a race we're paying a lot of attention to. I've got good friends, Carrie Hicks and Julia Kurt, that running for state senate here in the city, and super excited about seeing them and what they're going to do. One thing that I'm sad to see, and I'm sad because I see her now, is one of my very good friends in the legislature, AJ Griffin, who's not on the ballot this year, and that hurts my heart because she's such a good legislator. But she's moving on to bigger and better things. So
we're going to talk to her in about half an hour, and we'll hear all about that.
She's one of those powerful female legislators, and it's really tough for us to lose people like her because of that. We have so few women in the legislature. But she's a rock star, and she's going to do good in whatever she decides.
All right. Well, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts are, no matter what happens tonight, regardless of the turnout, it looks like that Oklahoma is going to have a record voting turnout for a midterm election, and we should all be excited about that.
Outstanding. A round of applause for that.
I have long said that the best government that we could possibly have is one where the maximum amount of people participate in elections. That is the most accountable government that we'll ever have. You can't put together a commission or a board or appoint someone for accountability more than you can just being a voter. And it looks like this time around that we have done that as Oklahomans. And so no matter what happens after tonight, I'm excited about the process. I'm excited to govern and make sure that we move Oklahoma forward. So
awesome.
Jason Dunnington, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, guys.
Give him a
Appreciate
hand.
it.